Hello, worldies, and welcome back to my naughty little channel. I hope you're all doing so well today. Today, I want to talk a bit about how to really handle the in between phase of your social climbing journey. So, one of my viewers left a comment about this, and it's something that I just think is an amazing topic because I wish I had more of this information earlier, and so I feel so passionate about sharing it. So stay tuned until the end so you can get all of this juicy information. And also, I do just want to say that I never mentioned if you like this type of content and you want to see more of it, feel free to like the video, subscribe if this is your thing, and then leave me a comment about what it is you want to hear me talk about next, because I really like getting ideas from you all and then making a video. I run out of ideas eventually. Well, no, I won't say that I run out of ideas. I think sometimes I lack confidence that an idea that I have is a good enough video to make. So, that's why I do polls over on my post tab and everything, because I really want to hear from you guys what you do want to hear and everything, and just to make sure I'm giving you the content that really makes you feel as fired up and lit up about life as I've been feeling lately, and, as I feel when I make this content. So, how do we handle this in between phase of your social climbing journey? I broke this down just a little bit. I touched on in my most recent video, which I will link in the cards up above. But I was talking about how the thing about it is when you first start off, you are at point A. And when you basically set off on a social climbing journey, you have, we'll call it a point C, you have some desired point that is got another point in between where you're at now. Like, usually if you want to really social climb, it is a drastic difference. Like, it's a whole new identity. It's a whole new life. It is so drastically different that it's not point B anymore. It's point C. There are a lot of people who want to. Sorry if you hear, I guess I have some people who are, they're taken off. But when it comes to social climbing, some people, they're still at the point where they're just going from point A to point B. That's not even really social climbing. That's more so just surviving. That's like being in the rat race. That's the very bare minimum for your life. That is, like I said, that's survival mode. Like, that's not thriving. That's not growing. That's not changing. That's not progressing. That's just routine. That's a lack of excitement, a lack of challenges as well. It's staying in your comfort zone, because for the most part, I just feel like there's this, when you're social climbing, there is a trajectory that a lot of people expect you to feel like you have to take, or, a trajectory that was maybe common for people to take from your point A, which is what landed them at point B. But what you're doing usually is something out of the norm. It has a negative connotation. It's looked down upon to say, it's almost looked at as being greedy. You want to go to point C? Everybody like you they just go to point B. Why do you feel like you're special enough to go to point C? Why are you, especially if you're a woman, why are you so selfish to want to get all the way to point C? I think that we do a bit better with it if it's like a single childless woman or woman, as a society, not judging her for her autonomy. I will say that like married women with children probably experience the most bullying, in this sense of, oh, you want to get to point C. Like, I think that people sometimes don't understand how social climbing like helps. I don't know, just especially if you were a mother, it would help the child, so to be, a bit selfish, to get into a whole new position in life. But we, like, in my channel is based on women. I feel like even if you're single and childless, people still are extremely uncomfortable with you having free time, with you being able to dilly-dally, with you romanticizing your life, with you social climbing shamelessly. Like, you're supposed to be ashamed about it. A lot of people expect you to be ashamed, which brings me basically to one of my first points about how you handle the in-between of your level up journey, which is you have to expect resistance from some people. You just have to. It's going to happen because your growth is forcing others to confront your own stagnation. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Your level up journey, you think that it should be neutral, but it's not neutral. To a lot of people, their nervous system literally perceives what you're doing as a threat. This can be from things as simple as color psychology. Like, I truly think that let's talk about makeup, for example. I think that there are many women who, when it comes to seeing, these biological markers of maybe beauty and fertility and youth and health in the next woman, I think certain women who are not on a social climbing journey, women who are male-centered still, whether or not they're aware of what it is, but they subconsciously can see things like she is attractive in the male gaze, and they may not know what it is. It could be things about her face, and like the balance of yin and yang in her face, so feminine and masculine, or like soft and hard, or maybe full versus narrow types of features. There are certain types of women that the way that their face naturally looks, the way that their body naturally looks, maybe it's their hair, maybe it's their physique, maybe it's their ratios, their proportions. Not only is how they look, they talk about childbearing hips, or things about having like healthy blood in your body, not being impaired by substances like drugs and alcohol, being, for lack of better words, good stock. There is, most of the makeup, I will say that, if you think of natural beauty type of makeup, or like clean girl makeup, is usually meant to emulate these actual biological things that happen and make us look more attractive, more like ready to mate, more ready to be, I don't know why I was going to say like staked or something, but ready to get poked and, claimed and whatever, shot up with a whole bunch of kids, oftentimes in survival times. For men, biologically, they're wired to notice these things. But I think other women, especially when it comes to male-centeredness, they're also wired to notice these things. And I will say that while we all can notice, this other person is pretty, this other person has a nice body, whatever, I think that when you're male-centered, and I've made another video about this, talking about viewing other women through the eyes of the male gaze, you are now going to change the way that you treat her. It is this way of centering men that even when it is just you and another woman, even if there are men around, if you're just looking at your interactions with her, she hasn't done anything to you, but you are bringing men, even from the other side of the room, from out in the ethers, you're pulling them into the center and using them as a filter for how you perceive her and how you treat her. And I will say that if you are somebody who resonates with my channel, then you have been on the receiving end of this, where it's almost giving, it's like, I really feel like this is not about me. I am almost feeling like the beef you have with me is a beef with yourself, is a beef with somebody else. I almost feel like this is none of my business and I should bow out. Like, people are, especially this can happen from men, I will say, but it can also happen from other women who maybe you want to be, sister power, girl power. We're all besties and having a good time. Maybe you want to be like that. But sometimes when you're coming across women who are male centered, they're not really on a social climbing journey, or if they are social climbing, they're trying to social climb solely through men, through, trying to be chosen, through trying to be picked. And so when they pick up on, this can be things like you getting healthier, you becoming more attractive, you becoming more literate, you becoming more financially stable, you becoming more healthy, you becoming, more talented, more successful, you changing your style, your appearance. Like I said, mimicking those biological markers that we're picking up on. For some women, it can even be plastic surgery that makes other women get triggered by them. But to them, they feel as though you're growing, or if you're in the in-between phase, you are growing. It's not just to them. You have to, in this in-between phase, accept that whether it's fortunately, like you can't have it both ways, right? You want a social climb. You want everybody to see that you are better, and you want to have benefits from that, from the people who want to reward that you're better, or, they just are in alignment with the better version of you. But you want to avoid the fact that some people are like, everybody, because of your hypervisibility, everybody sees you getting better. So yes, some people, when they encounter you getting better, you growing, you changing, you transforming, some people are not going to like that, and they're going to resist it. Their nervous system literally perceives that as a threat. I will say that with men, oftentimes they perceive it as a threat because they see that you are inaccessible to them. For a lot of them, they can't mate with each other. So on some level, that's why even like the men who are the sleaziest and things like that, they triangulate women against each other into like the housewife and the hoe, where they still feel as though they need the housewife type or whatever in order to get their, I will call it maybe biological needs or psychological needs of, passing on their seed. They still want that from good stock. They still want the validation from other men of it having been with the housewife type as opposed to the hoe type. But at the same time, they still want the validation from being able to, access the hoe type. And in the first place, the reason that they want a very strong divide between these two types of women, why we are all taught that we're supposed to even split people into these two archetypes, is because, when you're able to divide and conquer, it makes it easier for them. If we're fighting amongst each other, it makes it like slimmer pickings for them to be able to get both needs met. Of, okay, I'm able to pass on my seed with this type of woman over here, and I'm able to get the validation from other men for the fact that this is the one that I was able to conquer, and I get validation from, women for being able to have conquered her because she is a pedestalized type of woman. Or just I think the titles of like father and husband can be something that are, pushed to the forefront as a way for a man to kind of get his like good guy stamp. It's like, oh, because they're a dad type, or oh, because they're a husband or whatever. These roles in society can function as a cover-up for other types of behavior or whatever. It's a title that oftentimes they want a lot more than we do. I will say that you see a lot more of men wanting to marry women who don't want to marry them, or men wanting to stay in relationships and in marriages with women who don't want to stay in a relationship or marriage with them. You see that a lot more than you see it the other way around because of this. and it comes as a threat to them, because it's like you're leveling up out of my league, or I perceive that I cannot access to you. And to them, they're just looking at, especially nowadays as women have all of this freedom, how much am I going to be able to have my way and have this feeling that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do under the patriarchy? Because for a lot of men in the patriarchy, if they are somebody who is like really into patriarchy really bad, they are not the type of man who, like, while we all say like, oh, men are hurt by patriarchy too, a lot of them just, they're going to hurt more more that they are ranked below other men. So for a lot of them, it's like patriarchy is only really bad because they're broke. Patriarchy is only really bad because they don't feel like they are the one with the power. However, a lot of them, and that's why you see in many cultures and online, red pill content, red pill ideology is so prevalent, because it is a way for them to be able to climb up in patriarchy. Like, I'm broke and a dusty and everything, and under patriarchy, that means I suck. But if I could become not dusty, if I could become not broke, then I can climb up and get more access to money to basically out misogyny the other men, which oftentimes ends up giving you a better ranking in patriarchy, which makes patriarchy more bearable for you. Like, patriarchy is more bearable for men if they have access to somebody that they can use patriarchy against even worse. So whether that is, the top dog man trying to push down on the other weaker beta type of men, and I feel like for most of the men, then it's who are feeding into this, then it's that they want another woman then who has it even worse under the patriarchy to, push her down even more. But I feel like when it comes to being on a social climbing journey, to a lot of men, many things that women are doing on a social climbing journey, it makes patriarchy more, easy to endure. And because we have access to experience a much better lifestyle without actually harming people, it is an enviable position. We can do all of these things, and then people want to do for us. And there are other options. We have the freedom to, just be free. Like, literally having the freedom to choose what we do, to choose what we entertain, to choose what we like. Okay, for example, and I was thinking about, maybe I'll bring this up on my Patreon, but I feel like this won't dox me or anything. I was in like an establishment or whatever where I have a friend who works there. And you know what? That actually does have to go over to the Patreon. I'm going to maybe record that next so I don't forget about it, because you know what? No, because that actually is going to be giving away a little bit too much business and all that stuff. So never mind. But I will say there are a lot of things under patriarchy that and where we are now, because of all the freedom that we have, as much as we talk about feminism, misogyny, blah, 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 all these different things, like not blah, 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 like, oh, it's not serious, but because, oh yeah, there are terrible things still happening all over the place. The thing is that now we have, the way that we are harmed has had to grow and change and evolve. And so a lot of men who are, sorry about that, a lot of men who are trying to basically feel better about themselves and social climb off of women, oftentimes having access to us and objectifying women is what many men may do along their social climbing journey. Like, their social climbing journey may involve like actually acquiring like for a lot of them, it's actually getting the access, actually getting the conquest, actually putting the stamp, actually becoming the husband, becoming the father, becoming the thing that you need somebody else for, becoming the good guy because there is some woman who vouches for you and says that you are the good guy, or validates that you're a good guy because she is such and such, and if she's with you, then it's like, oh, you're kind of like, you're stamped, you have the stamp of approval. But when women are social climbing and they're leveling up, and then there are men who are saying that, well, I don't want to do the things that I would need to do to be on the same level as where you're at and fit in that lifestyle, then they would rather attack those women's character and, all these different things. That is the resistance that's coming. Then I will say, especially from other women, it's unfortunate because it is like the crabs in a bucket mentality, where it's like for them, they feel like the way that they make patriarchy more bearable is to make it worse for you. And so when the same way that men who cannot, like, let's say you have, for example, let's say some guy wants you, right? And you're on your social climbing journey, you social climbed or whatever. Like, maybe that type of guy could have maybe got at you 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, whatever. But let's say nowadays, that type of, like, and let's say you're constantly leveling up. And so it's like, men who are stagnant and they're stuck, they're going to feel like they're falling behind and they wouldn't be able to keep up. Because if you keep getting more fine, if you age like fine wine, if you keep becoming more cultured, if you keep making more money, if you keep enjoying your life more and being more and more of an it girl, and you're having this lifestyle increasingly so, and not letting people shame you out of wanting to have it, acquiring it, doing the things necessary to become the person who has it, then it's almost like quaking in their boots, because they're like, okay, then that's less chances that I will be able to have to acquire, my ability to social climb. And it's sad that as men are doing all of these things, that you have different groups of women breaking off, where there are a lot of us who are kind of just observing that and just saying, like, how can, I would say, make it so I'm not making patriarchy worse for you. Not necessarily how can I make it better for you all the time, but how can I not make it worse? And I feel like that is what being a girl's girl typically like. That's what it actually is, in my opinion. I think that being a girl's girl is simply saying that the thing of patriarchy is like this domination game, this stacking game. The game of patriarchy is basically, the only way that I can get higher is if I step on somebody else's head and make patriarchy worse for them. That's kind of how it is. And I feel like if we're more so saying, well, I'm not going to put that onto other women. If we're like, okay, I don't find the need to try to shame another woman for how she's making patriarchy work for her. Like, women of every single generation have had to find their way of making living under this system be okay and work for them. And, back in the day, that could have looked a certain type of way. Nowadays, that may look different types of way for different women and a lot of that is decentering men. It's like, that is how I'm making patriarchy work for me. I'm not going to center men who majority of the time are playing the game of, if I can't be the top dog at work, many men are kind of raised to be followers and kind of like worker bees. Then it's like they'll be the king of the castle. Then patriarchy, at the very least, I can't be at the top as the man outside of my door. Like, as soon as I walk into the world, everybody else knows. Like, the thing about it is, as women, like, if you're with a man, the whole game oftentimes, I will say, under, like, in a male-centered relationship, is like stroking this man's ego and kind of like he could be, just a flimsy type of loser, whatever, outside of the house. When he steps into the world, that's who he is compared to everybody else in patriarchy, right? But then when he comes home and it's just the two of you, then it's like, okay, well, I get to be the top dog here. I can maybe put my hands on you. I can maybe do other things that make me feel as though I am on top of you in patriarchy. Whether that is, give you biological types of insults, like the people who say women are XYZ, all of that stuff. It's just it's that's how I step above you in patriarchy. And women often participate in this because if they take on the traits that are typically associated with being a male, which means being somebody usually who, like, the top person in patriarchy is always a man. So when women who are more male-centered end up taking on the traits of a man, it's usually their way of social climbing and saying, well, in patriarchy, the way that I make it better for me is I kind of shun the things associated with the people who are never at the top of patriarchy, the women. So I'm going to shame other women for leveling up, shame them for vanity. I'm going to call them bad mothers. I'm going to, can I say that on YouTube? I'm going to, basically call them garden hose and stuff like that. I am going to judge other women, treat them nasty. I'm going to, amplify their pain when I can. I'm going to make patriarchy worse for them. Oh, so under patriarchy and these beauty standards, you fit the beauty standard, and that should make your life easier, to that girl's perception and, with pretty privilege and things like that. Well, I'm going to try to counteract that some through, then spreading rumors about you, then giving you the side eye, giving you the stank eye, just excluding you, treating you some type of way simply because, like I said before, they're dragging men into the center of the interaction between you two. They're like, you wear makeup and it makes you look kind of hot. A man will perceive that. You're a fucking bitch. All of a sudden, you hated, the most hated and stuff like that because of things like along these lines when people are uncomfortable with how they feel about you leveling up. When you're in that in-between, people can see it. People already know that you're in the in-between. And when you make the choice to step from point A over to point B, and you're showing that and you're like stretching your leg forward, and there's a point C too. Like almost like imagine somebody like dipping their toe into the water of like a nice cold pool. Like they're too nervous to get in and they're just starting to, when people see you doing that, like even dipping your toes into social climbing, they feel uncomfortable because of these things. They're going to be reminded of how they're stagnant. For men, they're stagnant and they cannot keep evolutionarily. They're like, oh my God, I won't be able to pass on my lineage. I won't be able to get the clout, the status, the access, the free labor, anything like that, because she's leveling up. To women, I have to compete against that. I'm male-centered and I have a competition mindset. And so, oh my God, you are some really good competition. I feel like one of the things with the in-between phase is like being aware that resistance will come and just clocking resistance as resistance. Because there are a lot of things where people have their own stuff to sort out, and that's what most of this is. The only people who would be trying to resist you leveling up are the people who are triggered by you leveling up. They feel unsafe. They feel behind. They feel stagnant and stuck now. They feel like the competition is even greater. They feel like, this is where envy starts. Because especially with women, it's like envy is where you feel as though you have to take somebody else out in order to get what they have that you desire. Versus with jealousy, it's just like, oh, dang, she has that and I want that. But I don't have to like take her out to get that. I can like go over here and get it too, because I don't have, a scarcity mindset. I don't have a lack mentality. There's an abundance of this thing that I want. You know, I'm not the thing with envy oftentimes is like you want to be somebody else. You can't be them. You literally do have to take them out to be them or to get what you want, because what you want is like not really achievable. You want to be somebody, you can't even accept yourself. You want to be her. And that is people's problem sometimes. You just stay in your lane. Like if you're somebody who wants to be leveled up, you're going to have to accept. You're going to have people who they are dusty every day. They know they want to be dusty. They're not doing anything to undustify themselves. They hate people who are leveled up. They talk shit about people who are leveling up. People who have the things that you want already, the things that you're actively working towards, the people who have all of, like, you probably, like, on your level up journey, you're going to be to this point where you're going to have, like, maybe this laundry list of things that you want to achieve or you want to have, you want to be, whatever. And you're going to be able to just start checking them off. And people see you checking those boxes off. And they see the new pep in your step. They see the added confidence. They see the inner light, the glow, the passion. Because a lot of times, like, confidence is coming from knowing that you're good at something. Some people, they're not willing to be bad at something first in order to become good at it, so that then they can feel better about themselves and the fact that, wow, I used to be bad at that and now I'm good at that. Oh my God. Like for somebody like me, who had been on a weight loss journey, that was a big thing to be like, wow, it used to be hard for me to do XYZ and now it's not. And that is social climbing. That is changing like who you are. That is becoming someone who has access to new privileges that you didn't before, and you work for it, and you have to, don't be your own hater. Some people, they are the resistance in their lives. Maybe it's their inner child, maybe it's their inner demons. Whatever it is, they see you actively trying to level up. And like some people are fighting a war with themselves. That's how you can have people where like you think you're aligned and you think they're also on the same leveled up journey, but then they're like doing other weird stuff, or they fall off, or whatever it is. It veers off to the left. It's because they're fighting a whole war with themselves. Nobody's even hating on them and their level up. They're hating on their own self. They're sabotaging their own goals, their own progress. And dealing with this, I'm going to have more points and I'm going to make more videos about talking about the in-between phase of your level up. But so stay tuned and subscribe if you want to see more of that, because I feel like you can get so deep into each one of these. But with this, expect the resistance and clock it as that. Like, I'm very much the type of person who kind of feels like, oh, you don't like me? Well, you don't really look like you like yourself. So actually, I don't care. Like, there are some people where I'm like, I don't give a fuck if you don't like me. I don't care if because of what I'm trying to achieve, you literally are the type of person who will be hating on me. So like, I actually want that. That's great. That means I'm actually becoming somebody that you don't resonate with. You don't see yourself the same as. You're hating on me. I must be leveling up now. That's how it's got to be. And you have to maintain your commitment to your level up journey, to your social climbing journey, and why you're doing it, because the resistance is only going to stop you if you're not somebody who is very committed to your goals. Like for me, I'm the type of person where it's like, and I don't know if you guys heard that, but regardless, I'm the type of person that I remember like a lot earlier on my level up when I was dealing with like a lot of resistance. I don't feel like the resistance ever really goes away. You just learn how to handle it better and to react to it less, to be impacted by it less. But I think like much earlier, I would be facing this resistance. And I remember clocking it as that early on, or I remember once I started to clock it as that. For the longest time when I didn't clock it as that, I was very like, woe is me, because you're not clocking it as resistance. You're internalizing that, versus when you view it as resistance, like from where I was, closer to point A, and then now being closer to point C, having passed the point B and everything, at different points, you're going to be dealing with the same resistance types of behaviors. You'll just be experiencing them in better environments as time goes on. So maybe you were in a certain type of environment before where you were dealing with those resistance behaviors, where it's like, okay, you can't it's like, oh, if it's crab stuck in a barrel or whatever, let's say it's crab, that's like the lowest level. Then they're going to, and you're like climbing out of there. They're going to want to keep you in the barrel. Let's say you escape the barrel and then like you drop off the barrel and you're onto the ground or whatever. So you're free and you can scurry around. There are going to be, maybe other crabs who are there, but you're trying to climb up onto a table or trying to climb up and get a doorknob or something so you can get out of, somebody's kitchen or whatever, because you're not trying to be steamed and cooked and eaten. At that point, then there are other crabs who, they're like, well, we're free now. We made it out of the barrel, and you are not satisfied yet. You want to grab the doorknob. You want to turn the doorknob, literally get out of here alive. You want to be able to, and then like, you don't even want to just be on the run and be in survival mode. You like literally want to go thrive, go be a crab, living your best life. That's so triggering to people, but you have to just kind of clock it in the different environments, because along your social climbing journey, and this is why you see things like celebrities and royals and stuff like that, even politicians, they end up getting to the point where they have security, because the behaviors as far as resistance never stop. It's just that it's a different type of person now who is giving you the resistance. If you, for example, let's say you become a celebrity and you're like a D-list celebrity, and you're trying to become an A-list celebrity. The first people trying to pull you down from becoming like C-list celebrity, maybe the other D-listers. Then when you're a C-lister, it's, the D-listers trying to pull you back and the C-listers. It becomes more people trying to do it too. And it becomes people where it's more and more surprising to you that they would even want to be trying to pull you back. But that's how you know you're on a social climbing journey. Because at that point, it is like this astronomical growth rate. It's this exponential speed. It's like jumping a whole timeline. It's things happening for you in weeks, whereas other people, it's supposed to take them months. It's, maybe it's something that takes you years, but it's something that you actually accomplish, versus other people, in order for them to have accomplished that, years long commitment, most people actually fall off. But you didn't fall off. You actually kept it going. When that's the rare thing to do. That's a very enviable spot to be in. And a lot of people want to pull you back because, it is. I just think that when it comes to people, when they're always in comparison mode, you have to think about how they are actually perceiving you when you're leveling up, you're changing. Let's say it's something as simple as you leveling up the effort that you put into your appearance and your health and all of that stuff. Somebody could literally be at a healthy weight. Like, let's say somebody is skinny fat or whatever. They're just skinny fat. And they saw you go from a beluga whale to absolutely snatched, where's her waist? It's gone, like Pilates princess type of aesthetic. You're going to, for some people who have that comparison mindset, you're going to make them feel worse about themselves even if they didn't change at all. It's not that you were losing weight and they were gaining weight. It's just that you were having exponential progress in front of their eyes, and they maybe were not doing anything. Maybe they were just kind of maintaining. Maybe they were kind of just like, maybe in their head they were like, oh, well, I'm not as big as such and such, and so they kind of just stopped before they got to point C, before they got to unrecognizable, before they got to top tier. But I'm kind of tired of these people making all these noise outside my window, so I think I'm gonna be done recording this one because, like I said, I want to break this up into a series. And I did mention before that check out a few videos I'm gonna I'm going to link the video that I want you to check out at the end of this right here, just because I can't remember the name of it right now. And I was reading notes off my laptop, and my laptop just died on me. But what do you want to hear me talk about next time, worldies? Let me know in the comments down below. And until next time, eyes on the prize.